Yeah, I just joined with my desktop so I can share my screen. So what I thought I'd do is just run through the questions that I hadn't shown, but that were written by Sam and Matt or Mark. And because we haven't had a chance to look at those, and we can just record the reactions. How about that? Does that sound good?
Sounds good.
Where's my, oh, it's really small. Why is it so small?
Well, if you make the window smaller and share it, it'll look big to us. So
yeah, that's right. No, okay, so that's the issues. And then here we go. How about that? Okay, so there's these. I have a question about this question after I show the other questions, but we've already that's already an issue in GitHub. So I'll proceed with this one. This do you guys all have a copy of the form handy? I don't think I have. I've shared that. Or
if you have a link and you can put it in the Zoom, sorry, on the Slack, that'd be great.
I'll put it in the Slack real quick. Oh, Maeve. Is Maeve here, or is Maeve eating?
She's just saying, I've got the link. Do you want me to put it? Where do you want it?
Yes, please. Would you do that? Yeah, thanks.
Yeah. You want it in Slack or Zoom?
Oh, whichever.
It's I put it in Zoom, you guys.
Okay, Zoom's also good.
So remind me, just want to make sure to figure out what kind of suggestions we're looking for here.
These are questions that were written by the other members of the group who have since stopped, and we didn't have time to show them to anyone.
Okay.
So they haven't been looked at. It's going to be a surprise for me. I haven't really looked at them.
Okay. So when I see this, I think, have we gotten the names of the household members already? And do we need them?
This one, yeah, okay.
And if so, can we ask for each of them if they're employed? Actually, I think I do know this form, so I don't think it does ask for who else lives with you, does it? So,
no, it's only if they're employed. Yeah. Or rather, if they're employed, it wants to know about them.
Yeah.
Okay. And you don't end up having to say anything about them other than I'm looking at the form now. Which section?
What? It's G. You see it?
Oh, it's G. I see it now. Yep. 2G. Okay. Yeah. Okay. List occupation and name and address of his or her employer. You don't even have to list the person's name.
So I think what you might do is just ask how many other people in your household are employed. And you
yeah, that's a comment I received on some other or maybe we made it past this one.
Yeah, I think we talked about this before.
We talked about this one. Okay, yeah, then excuse me, then we must have gotten past, we did 2 sections.
Yeah.
We finished the income, and it's probably like assets or something.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I would, in this case,
to ask for the name anyway, so you can refer back to it.
Yeah.
Okay, so did you guys see, do you own a home?
Yep.
Yes.
Oh, you're asking if we'd already seen it before?
Yeah, yeah. Because this is now the next section of the form.
Yeah, I think we talked about this because it's readability, but it says own your home. I think we did talk about this.
Yeah, okay. Wait, so how far do we go? Car, and then it's the same kind of things.
Yeah.
And then did we talk? I mean, we've talked about this. We did do a pass through the form once. I think I suppose it's the bank accounts. Yeah, what's the balance of your bank accounts? Okay, now I'm wondering if Mark's code is even in here, because that should be like a loop, and he wasn't very communicative about what we got. So let's just make sure we get to the end of the form. Okay. Yeah, so I'm seeing this. I'm seeing this for the first time. I think this is about where we were.
So this was replaced with the loop, because that would actually be one of my questions when I see the next one. If we go forward 2 screens.
Yeah.
We would probably do you have another account? This is
Yes.
this is coming too late for me to be able to know how to answer the question on the immediately previous
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So
information that doesn't fit.
yeah.
Yeah, what's the next? You might have another question, yeah, that goes in front of this one. They're
Yeah.
almost like they're backwards. And
It's
if you
like-
have one more,
I'm checking.
You might ask a question that says like, what types of accounts do you have?
yeah,
Now, checking account, money market, investment account, other.
right.
Yeah. So that would go.
Probably should account for people having
So that would
multiple
replace
accounts of the
this,
same
right?
type.
This might be a dead question. Sorry, did you say something, David?
Yeah, so you probably should account for the possibility you could have multiple savings accounts, for example.
Yeah, I'm
'Cause I
guessing.
know I have two for some weird historic reason.
I'm guessing that this is
Should the
like
question instead ask how
leftover
many?
question.
Should the question instead ask how how many of each account do you have? Savings account.
I don't-
Caroline.
People
I
don't
don't think
necessarily
so.
think of those as in cardinality terms, right?
Right. Yeah, you have to name them. You just have to say, I think Eric, I sent you this. I'm pretty sure. Basically a list of check boxes of all the kinds of bank accounts or all these assets that you might have that are like bank accounts. And then,
Okay.
so say checking account, savings account, CD, investment, whatever. So they check it and then you say, what's the name of your first savings account? Or what's the name of a savings account you have or something like that? And then they give you all the information about that. Do you have another savings account? And then you go through them like that.
You don't have to ask, we're not asking for, we don't need to say where the accounts are, right? We don't want that granularity. I thought that was a concern last time.
Specify type. Oh yeah, right. So, but I think sometimes this is what we do with names is you ask them for some, you don't have to have the name and address, but you ask them for something because they need to know how to refer to it. And by calling it the first savings account or the second savings account, that doesn't usually identify it to people. Just like your house, not like household numbers.
Is it appropriate not to treat them like accounts then? It's like, how much money do you have in checking accounts?
Well,
Or,
there you have
no.
I mean,
No.
you could, but you've got the math problem then.
Yeah.
Right. So that's the questions. Like if someone has 3 accounts, and we're asking for cents here, although we don't know for sure that that's the level of detail we really need. But it might be helpful if you have less than $10 to say it's $5.77 or whatever. Yeah. So I think the name is the best approach because people there's a name they can give it. It's like the bank name probably.
Yeah. I'm thinking that this question should have been taken out.
Account.
It starts with
They nickname them, right?
You have any of these, and then I'm not sure why there isn't a question field in here. So we finally got through this. So this is
like the
first
nickname, Caroline's nickname suggestion. I like that.
Okay. So how about using a combo box, feeding all the list of all of the common items that you mentioned, Caroline, but allowing them to name it themselves, and then to be consistent with the list collecting technique, how about I put it in a list collect?
I start with the check boxes rather than a combo box. The combo box would be for nicknaming them, but I think for check boxes, you'd sort of say checking accounts, savings accounts, money market, investment, whatever those would be. And then from there, you do your nicknames, which I don't know if you'd have combo boxes.
Could you ask the nickname and the type and balance on the same page?
Yeah, in a list collect, I'm imagining.
The account type. Well, you'd already know, if you do the check boxes, you'd already know what account type it is.
Well, you know what account type they have, but you could say what, tell us about, like Caroline said, tell us about your first savings account.
Yeah, exactly.
And then it asks for a nickname and a
balance. But not an account type because you're already in the savings accounts. Yeah.
Right. But
have a loop for each type of account.
Eric is suggesting
Why?
instead of a loop, he's saying a list collect.
List collect.
because that's what I'm using for previous questions. And
So it's a familiar, yeah.
it would provide an overview, and it would allow you to have those. It works well if there's like three.
Mm-hmm.
If
Do you
there's like
even,
three
do you even
three
need
or
nicknames?
less.
Do you even
Even a
need
nickname,
nicknames
yeah.
if it's, no. Do you need
Oh.
nicknames if they're all on the same
Right.
page? Then you can see the other ones that you've already done. You don't.
Yeah, that's a good point. If it's a list collect, you don't need nicknames, do you?
True, because you see everything in one place.
Mhm.
Yes.
That's a good, I think this is, I hate list collect. I really hate it. But this actually would be a good application for list collect.
Okay.
And because the other thing is it keeps you from clicking through one screen after another. The other thing I worry a little bit about is list collect on a phone. Not that our users are going to have 17 items in a list, but that I mean that's the good thing about this only having really.
Fields that you have to fill in. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, but this would only be if you do this a list collect per account type, then you're just having you're just listing back, you're just having one item in each one list item in all together, right?
Oh, you're right. It's just the account balance.
It's
You don't
just
even
the
care.
account balance.
Yeah.
How do you ask, do you have enough, so it'd be, it would be like list the balances of all your checking accounts, right? And then you'd have, would the label change, or would you say balance, add another, balance, add another?
You might be able to use I in the name, like first balance, second balance, third balance. It might be able to do that. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I suppose you could if it's a variable.
What do you think, Quentin?
I don't know.
Because it's using I, right?
Say it one more time. I'm sorry. I spaced for a second.
So for each list collect item, could you use I and the ordinals? So your first balance account, your second balance account, your third?
Your label would increase.
You can change the label, yes. And I think for some reason ordinal didn't work there, right, in all circumstances. But I think it would work here. I think it doesn't work when you have multiple levels.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we don't
labels
absolutely.
are kind of annoying. So if you
We
can't
could also
format them, they're like the same font and weight. So you can't make them bold, but you can do it.
Be okay. I think you'd be okay there, Quentin. Just to indicate something that isn't, it would, I mean, it's worth trying.
And actually, we might be able to fix it with CSS. I don't know. I mean, I've tried to ask Jonathan I gave him some UX suggestions for making the list collect better. I don't think he was interested in working on them because he doesn't like list collect either. He created it for our Social Security forms.
If you want, I can, if someone gives me a design, I can try and make a PR with a CSS adjustment for list collect.
We got
If
some
he
good
doesn't like messing with CSS, I can do that. What?
I mean, I think I had some drafts that are better. We just had a new volunteer join who maybe has some ideas.
Yes, I saw that.
Oh, really?
Good timing, Kismet.
Yeah.
Well, maybe we can give
so
her some design
their
problems.
name is
Oh, but we
Email.
need to give
Oh.
Rose right of first refusal. Sorry, I forgot.
I don't know if we need to put
Shafali
in-
Takani.
It's okay.
Yeah, I don't think we need to do it for everything. Just, you know.
I think that the things that are like representative of the full design of the project, I think are great. Like the instruction sheet, right? That's part of an overall theme. But making individual changes on screens, I think is fair game for anybody.
Okay.
So they're not-
So do you want to contact her, or because you already had some design ideas, do you all want to work it out and then, bring me the wireframe and I'll make adjustments?
Yeah, I wonder how, I don't know how far my ideas were along, but yeah. Do you have, Caroline, I think you have a lot of ideas about what are the things that are wrong with the current way list collect works.
I know I could try it. I mean, but
Okay.
I think you're talking about, I can have a go.
I mean, I can say the thing, basically what I was thinking was, okay, there's the big giant delete button, which is really in a weird place.
Yeah.
And size and look, which maybe that was.
We don't use that now though, right?
No, you do. As soon as you have a second item, it appears.
Oh,
And then the way that the interaction is on the left aligned rather than right aligned is just awkward. That's a very,
uh-huh.
I'm actually gonna just jump in here and remind us we're actually reviewing Eric's form, and I totally
I know,
forgot that.
Michelle, you just
Oh, okay.
interrupted, and I would have finished by the end of your sentence, I think.
Sure,
That's the
okay,
point, though. You're
okay.
very right. We don't want to go too long. I'm saying like those are the types of things that
Okay.
that I had. Is that enough for us to, do you have more specific kind of thoughts?
I don't.
Okay. I don't know if we have a wireframe for you, Michelle. That's my point.
Yeah.
Well, I'm
Yeah.
just saying
We have ideas.
this person who just came on might be able to make one.
Maybe we
That's
should,
why-
maybe, I mean, maybe we should just look at it, you, the person who came on, and me, and have a sense. And then if Quentin's got some ideas, I think he's just listed them. So,
Those are the main-
I didn't hear them, but okay.
okay,
Because
so,
there were
but Eric, I
messages,
just want to
yeah.
go back to your debts. You have unpaid debts? You don't have to go back to the screen, but it says unpaid debts.
I can go back.
I think you can take the word unpaid out.
Maybe, yeah.
I think it was a couple of screens back, yeah.
Good one. Okay, I like many of these.
So
Oh,
check
yeah.
No,
you
I
have-
don't-
approach here, because what are we talking about? We're not talking about a mortgage, because that is separately listed. We're talking about credit card debt, right? And then there are other miscellaneous ones, but can we just be more specific about what they are to help give people some guidance about what to list here?
If we
Yeah.
ask about the mortgage first, then they won't include the mortgage in the unpaid debts.
Yeah, I think, Quentin, some of this, given the fact that it's an affidavit of indigency, some of these things, I think the people who drew up the form were hoping, you want to give the user some guidance, but you also want them to feel like they can put stuff in there. So for example, say they've got gambling debts or something, I mean, we don't want to suggest gambling debts, but really, do you owe anything? And what's a little bit, this miscellaneous,
Other
well, okay, so I think I think debts is pretty good. Do you owe any? I would just go with debts.
okay.
And then we could say, you've already told us about your mortgage. Oh yeah, and the thing maybe also is just look at the affidavit of indigency, I don't mean affidavit of indigency. Never mind. I was thinking financial statement.
Oh,
with debts.
for categories. So
Categories, yeah.
helpful just maybe to give some guidance. And I see your point about not wanting to limit people's options, but give them ideas about how to answer this or
Yeah, so
I don't-
basically,
I
revision.
don't exactly know what the form is looking like, but if you
It just
have,
says debts specify. That's what it's
okay,
pretty.
because you could offer a drop down with the option of other, and then have them, and there could be some items.
no, I think you just want
That's
to,
what Lois just said she doesn't want to do because
Okay,
limit people. And this is the whole
Okay.
point is you've already not fallen into the box of qualifying for the indigency waiver,
Okay.
for the fee
Right.
waiver. So you want to give people lots of room to give lots of information about what they think might qualify them.
yeah, so maybe we
Okay.
would have a more elaborate sub question. And Eric, I think instead of a text box here, you would have a text area, which would
Okay.
encourage people to talk a little bit more about
right.
what the debt is.
Yeah. So should I keep the yes or no question format? Because that's like in addition to what's on the form.
Yeah, I think that's helpful because if you have no, you don't say, right? If you put no, there's no box, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
no box.
Yeah.
And then you,
Yeah, and then
Yeah, I
you'd
guess-
handle, okay.
Because these
Character limits and
things
stuff, right?
like, my father-in-law loaned me money for my computer, something like that. Those
okay.
are the kinds of debts we're talking about.
So do you owe any debt? Do you owe debt?
Do you have any debt?
Do you have any debt? Okay.
Or yeah, or we could even say any other debt. And then I can talk to you a little bit about readability, but I think it's like, you've already told us about if they have a mortgage. I would put some conditional stuff in here, right?
Okay.
So if they say they have a mortgage, you say you've already told us about your mortgage. If they have a balance owed, right, on their car, you have, you say you've already told us about your car loan.
Okay,
etc.
I get you. Yeah, yeah.
Right. So you sort of acknowledge what they have said so they don't feel they have to repeat it. So you could also say, and you could even make this be, do you have any other debt? If they have indicated that they have a mortgage and they owe money on their car. You
Or
see what
they
I
owe
mean?
money on the car.
Yeah, I
And
like,
to be clear about the process flow here, that like those are things to worry about when the question flow is stabilized, or I mean,
Maybe.
GitHub issue about it, but like it could,
Okay.
things could change. So, right?
Maeve, did you have something you were
Yeah.
trying to say?
I was trying to say about when we did our turn it into a text area, we added a character limit because we didn't want it to extend onto a addendum. It wasn't worthy of that, or we didn't think that there was going to be that much writing. So I don't know if that's something to take into consideration here, whether there's going to be enough to extend it onto an addendum, if it's going to be worth that, or if you want to put a character limit in place.
Basically, there needs to be a way to handle overflow.
Yeah, I think
That's
with
the
this,
yeah.
I think with a supplement, it's almost an addendum of itself. And so I think it would make sense to put an addendum, allow an addendum here. Because these are people who don't fit, as Quentin said, these are people who don't fit the checkbox of the Affidavit of Indigency. And they're trying to show that they can't afford the court costs and what kinds of expenses and costs they have. So, and you could have, I mean, these are people who, they may not be desperately poor. If they're desperately poor, they'll have the Affidavit of Indigency.
Yeah.
These are people who are sort of low, moderate income, who might have various things, but just can't, they're too extended and they can't afford court fees. Or any of the other costs.
But they can't afford court fees like this month in particular, or
Right.
something like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah,
maybe they had a high income, they have assets.
right.
but
Right.
they
This is
have
what
lots of-
Kate was talking about. Exactly. She's
Yeah.
saying a snapshot of where you are right now.
And people might use this who won't qualify. So that's something, I mean, this is by definition, they didn't meet the first test. So they might have a lot to pay for any of these areas.
Yeah, that's
Something
true.
that's-
Yeah,
And then they'll get told no, but we're not going to stop them from filling out the form.
right.
So addenda is the next item. Okay.
Right. So
Yeah.
you could
Maybe
put
check
actually all of these, CD 5 and 6. And I would just, before you actually start doing the work, quadruple
Kate.
check with Kate. Because she's had a few clients who actually have filed this supplement.
Yeah.
But, I mean, one of the classic things is people cannot afford to get divorced. They can't afford an attorney. They can't get legal aid because legal aid only helps people with domestic violence, and they can't afford a divorce.
All right, so I'll ask Kate about addenda for CD 5 and 6.
Yeah, just ask her for the final, ask on the last page, or if she thinks you
Yeah.
need an addendum for anything else. I'm
Okay.
guessing yeah, I would just I would just check with her in general about addenda for this form.
Okay. Because I had some follow-up questions about the list collect for the bank accounts.
Okay.
Yes. Okay, so Caroline, were you suggesting to provide the options for the type of account in like a control screen and then trigger individual list collects for each type, so that they're not like saying savings account next, savings account next?
Right. So basically check boxes for all the types of accounts they have. One screen has check boxes.
Yeah.
And then basically, I'm sure
Category.
Quentin can do this with the X, which I have not mastered. But what you can do is just, the easy way to do is just have a screen for each category, and each with those screens. So say you have a checking account screen, a savings account screen, a money market screen, a CD screen, an investment screen. And for each of those is a list collect.
Yeah.
And then you can pull it all together and put it in a text area. Or not a text area, but pull it all together in your PDF. Because that way they sum up. because that's what it's asking for. It's asking for account type and balance for all, isn't it? So that way you can, each list collect can add everything in that category, because that's what your form's asking for.
Gotcha. I'll just write that down. Yeah, that sounds really, really smooth. I like the idea of that. There should be like an other category for like names not included in that list. Is it an exhaustive list?
Well, I think we can do a fairly limited list, because it's specifically bank accounts, so we can probably come up with
Open-ended.
something. Because they see, the thing is, 6 is miscellaneous, other facts that may be relevant to your ability to pay fees. If they could stick it in there, if they don't.
Right. Okay.
Good
So,
point.
okay, gotcha. So here, I've already noticed the question order is off, which it's probably to ask for the
Oh, yeah.
before the debts, considering the debts exclude property.
Yeah.
And we probably would
That
want.
would be a great example.
I'm
somewhere.
curious what people would list here as property, other than real property.
Other than real property, you mean like boats and cabins and snowmobiles and stuff?
Well, yeah. I mean, I guess we have car. It doesn't say vehicles, so you're right. People have a disincentive to list things here,
Sure.
but all it says is property other than. Well, it says other property, including real estate. But what would you feel prompted to list here that wasn't real estate, is what I'm wondering. Since your incentive is to minimize your assets.
Because of this question? You're
I'm
saying
not gonna
because of the
list my-
question?
I'm not going to list my blender, or my TV. And
But if you had a boat, you see, if you had a boat or a snowmobile or something like that, boats are the big ones, I think.
Unfortunately, isn't there
Motorcycles, second cars.
a case law on retirement funds? Unfortunately.
Would that be property?
yeah, it would be property. I mean, it would also be kind of asset, but under asset. Well, yeah,
We
that's
don't have anything for retirement fund under assets, do we?
it just as bank accounts.
So, yeah, I think it would be, and it would be pretty inclusive.
So something like a 401k
Well, who knows if they would count it
or
against.
life insurance?
Yeah, unfortunately, I think there was some case, I remember from back when I was still practicing, right when I was leaving, there was new case law that was saying you could actually take it from people's retirement.
This is for repaying the cost of your
gosh.
representation specifically.
Well, actually, it's an interesting one. This was for, yeah, I actually don't know. It was in relationship to assessment for assignment of counsel. So I don't know.
Oh,
actually if it would
so
apply.
that's pretty close to this.
Yeah, it's pretty close.
Like a similar situation. And of course, like the thing is, there like some types of retirement accounts are convertible to cash. So
Yeah.
technically, it makes some sense actually.
I didn't
And
like
life
it because the
insurance,
case law was on accounts that had penalties. I was like, really?
Oh, really? That's terrible.
That's my recollection. I bring it up now just as, yeah, it was pretty unpleasant.
This is a place where the form just doesn't seem very good. So I'm just wondering. And then what kind of look would the judge do to inquire about other property? Probably they would do like some kind of colloquy that they have.
Yeah, I would assume they have a colloquy.
Of assets, right? And
So
say,
colloquy.
are you sure? You
A conversation with the
Z?
person in court.
Oh, of course.
So should we just get that list from a judge? What would you ask about? The
Or
person?
is it, well, why do we have to do a better job than the form that exists, right?
Well, except the thing is, remember that this is Affidavit of Indigency, and they're asking for court costs. They're asking for the court or the state to pay their fees. This isn't like a financial statement where you're trying to make sure that both people get a fair whack. So in a way, if you leave it general and they fill it out the best they can and they leave stuff out, they're not perjuring them, they're not lying or anything. That's just what they're doing. So we want to, it's not like we want to pull out every single penny that they have.
I think we should remember our lessons from our previous interactions with the court, and we should not try to go far, far beyond the
form.
questions of the form.
Right.
So
Particularly when we have the interest of the residents of Massachusetts at heart.
Well,
Yeah.
so the reason why I was starting that way is to think about, should this be a big text area, which is what it is on the form, or should it be a list collect where we ask for individual things? So, and if we go towards the list collect method, we want maybe some prompts to help people label their different property, but maybe not.
I don't think so, Quentin. I think it's better to have a text area and let people fill it in as they feel comfortable and as they, I think we're better off with that. Because the other thing is we don't have to add this up, right? It just gets listed in the box.
It does ask for an amount, which I see this does. So I might just change the examples because those are the two that we probably don't want to prompt them for. But
Right.
like maybe we would say second house or boat, as Caroline said.
Vacation home or boat, yeah. Or
Maybe it's-
jewelry is another one, right?
But again, like if I wasn't forced to disclose that, I don't know if I would list it, but I would feel a little nervous about, I'm being reminded this is under pains and penalties of perjury. I wouldn't really know what to say there.
Well,
Yeah,
I mean,
this whole thing is like we've had this huge debate already on the Affidavit of Indigency, and I'm trying to remember. It's sort of like, because on the Affidavit of Indigency, it's what contributions do your household members make to your household income, and we leave it up completely to the user. Because really it's up to them to decide what they want to report and what they don't want to report.
Right.
And because there are no specific rules about it, as there are no instructions for the supplement, really. And
Yeah.
only instructions for the affidavit. So I think in that way, we let people fill this out. And if they feel nervous, they can maybe call the clerk or something, but I don't want them to feel like they've got to report more than they.
Okay.
And we don't want it to be more work for them.
Can we just answer that? I'm just wondering, is there a way to help reassure them to feel they don't abandon the form here? And maybe the answer is we just put a what should I list here button, and it says list any, there's no rules that say what needs to be declared, include the information that you think the judge will need to decide if you're entitled to the waiver, something like that.
But we could also talk about what assets are. Assets are things that you own that have any value.
And maybe we should say you don't need to list everything you own. Just list the things that the judge needs to know to decide.
I like
if you
that.
qualify.
Yeah.
Unless we feel like that's wrong, and some judges would say list every single thing you own, but that just obviously isn't.
Well,
the case.
again, that's not what the form says. We should not deviate far from the form.
Right. I worry this will be a drop-off point for people, but
Yeah, no, I agree. I'm with
come back and fix
Caroline
it.
on the balancing point, right? You don't want to tell them to do more than, but Quentin, I do like your suggestion of having the help button.
well, here's a way of phrasing the question. So why would we not want the list collect for this question, but we do want it for the bank account question, right? Because structurally they're the same.
yeah.
They're not, I don't think they are quite, because it says bank account, specify type and balance.
That's what it says for other property as well. Type and balance.
Value. Yeah, it does say that. So
Right. But I think you might have a couple of checking accounts or a couple of savings accounts.
That's right.
It
Yeah.
might be unlikely that you have a few boats and a few.
Right. But so then there's a further, we could still do the list collect, but not embedded in like an options control screen. It would just be one list collect, not like, do you have all of these things? Check all the properties you have. It would just be like, add the property that you have. Don't check yet. You know what I'm saying?
it's true. You're right. That would be another way to do it
Yeah.
without having the category help.
Right. And then,
What we can tell people about how to include, but yeah. Okay.
yeah, we could do that.
We can try it. And
It's important to point out one other difference, which you probably already know, Eric, which is bank accounts, there's a really limited list of what those are. Like we know what that
Right.
is. Whereas for other
Right.
property, it's so open-ended. I have no idea what I would list there if it were me.
It would be, do you have any other property? It's almost like, we think about it, it says value of your property, but if you think of value in a different way, property that is valuable. Do you have any valuable property, right? So that way you don't have to list the forks and the tablecloths and things like that. And I think this thing, Quentin, a little bit about what you think the judge needs to know is, that is a little, I don't know what the judge needs to know. You know what I mean? I'm a person on the street.
True.
So that, I don't think that's the greatest
Okay.
way to describe. I've never, you know, I'm
Maybe
not so
just
crazy
lay
about
out the facts and say, the court uses this information to decide if you, maybe that's obvious because that's the whole point of it.
Well, that's the point of it. I think if we think more about what assets are, that's what we're talking about. You know, what things
Right.
you
So-
could sell. What could you sell at a, well, no, because you could sell.
Well, here's a consideration. Like if you're gonna, if in the next question you're gonna say I owe another 50K on my boat. Like you're gonna want to list the boat and the value in the question proceeding, right?
That's true.
They're assets, so they're property.
Yeah, exactly.
It could also be a very big liability on your part.
So, I mean, you could actually think about whether for each asset you also want to include, do you owe anything on this, and then automatically populate the debts list with that in addition to the things you ask about separately.
I would definitely want to talk to Kate about that or someone else who uses the form, because that seems like you're adding functionality to the form.
I want to just like, I'm conscious of everyone's time and about, we know whether we wanted to look at any of the bugs or things, or if we want to try and get through this review, because we're like maybe 3/4 of the way. So I just want to flag that.
Do you want,
I flag that this Zoom room will disappear at 2.
all right.
Okay, well, if Matt has something pressing, then we should definitely achieve that. Otherwise, I'm happy to maybe make sure we get all the questions done through here. I don't necessarily want to look at my bugs since I can just post those in the code channel if we don't have time, which we won't. I'd rather go through these questions.
Okay. Yeah, let's keep going. You're right.
Yeah, I think you're driving, Eric, so.
Okay.
Or if Matt had a specific one, because I know he's had specific.
Ah, yes. Oh, yeah, I didn't notice Matt down there.
Yeah.
Sorry,
No,
Matt.
I'm thanks. I'm good today. This has been illuminating and interesting because we have few waivers in Illinois and things are similar but different.
Oh, cool.
But I was looking for something that I could share that would just solve everything, but I didn't. We're wrestle with the same issues, so it's.
Okay.
I didn't
Yeah.
come up with something, but it's possible other examples of the forms themselves and automated document programs might give you some ideas, which I'm happy to share if you need anything in that way.
I would love to
Thank
see
you, Matt.
examples. Thanks.
Okay, I'll put links to the PDF forms and then also to like I don't have it in docassemble, it's in like A to J author, but you could run through it and see how some of the questions work. It's not too long.
So, cool.
I think some of this also is sort of like a philosophical thing, right? I mean, we're trying to figure out how to not, I mean, I think Quentin, you're saying drop-off points. We don't want people to drop off at the same time. We don't want them to feel they could drop off for all kinds of reasons.
That's true. Yeah. And I guess, yep. So I think an early screening question, which you might already have in there, which we missed, is you have to fit prong 3 on the regular affidavit of indigency. So you have to say that you can't afford to pay for the basic necessities of life, essentially. And that's not the exact phrasing, but it's similar to that.
Yeah.
That's something to make sure we have in the screening question.
Okay, so there's miscellaneous
Yeah.
text area. So I'll just, that's what you mean by text area, right? Like that's what we're talking about.
I don't think you need a label here. You've got a question. I think this would just be no label.
You know what she means by that, Eric?
Yeah, I do. You just put no label in, right?
Yeah, just take out this part.
Yeah. All right. Okay, so I've been trying to track it, but I'm not sure if I'm totally cognizant. Was there something changed to the signature flow, or is
Let's take a look at the source button and see this question here.
Yeah, I think you wanted a preview before you do signature, right?
Yeah, I've noted the question order is all.
So this is saying it's looking for a name print. I'm not sure what that is.
Name print.
Just could maybe be a variable on the.
Oh, it's underneath the signature. It just goes underneath the signature, right?
Yeah. So we probably just want to change the attachment block there so that it doesn't refer to name print, that instead it refers to just the user 0.
So this is the attachment block that we're looking at.
See if we can find where that is.
Oh, thanks, Matt.
I'm going, keep scrolling.
Signature date.
Here's one, name print.
Where is it? Oh, okay. Oops. Yeah, so just replace that inside the Mako tags. Just replace it with user 0. Get rid of the .name print there. And in both attachment blocks, right? I'm glad to stop saying that soonish.
I was thinking maybe a good task for someone would be to go through and like remove the set right to like consolidate. But it takes more, it'll take more work than just removing one of the attachment blocks, but that could be something for someone with some experience, with a little experience.
True. Once you've done it in like one form, it could be kind of an automated, like a pretty quick process for you to do it for the rest once you know what you're doing.
Yeah.
Good idea.
Okay, and so then it won't ask this question before showing the reviews, the preview.
Yeah, it won't need this to be asked at all because this is just a duplicate of a person's name.
Yeah, okay, I made a GitHub issue about that before because I thought it was weird. So that explains that. And then should this go with the case information all the way at the front? Do we have a style thing on that? Court select?
I think you put I think you can put this at the end. You're tired by the time you get to the end. Picking your court isn't that hard.
Okay, it's like a little.
And it doesn't throw you out. It's pretty easy information.
And it's, okay, so I'll put that after the preview.
Yeah.
So
and I'm guessing you don't have a docket number. Well, you might have a docket number already too. Do you ask for docket number?
That's at the
we were told they really do want it. So,
yeah.
But I mean, we're gonna probably combine it, so then it might be filled in. Yeah, the court really wants a docket number for these affidavits.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. They were making a big stink about it, weren't they, in Norfolk?
They can't connect them. It's hard for them.
We made some changes to the live one to help solve that problem.
What's happening? What? Oh, I see. But all right.
Yeah. I can do that exact behavior that I changed. Who knows if they like it, but they want to. Yeah, I changed the way that we asked some of the information about identifying your existing case to help solve the court's questions.
Okay, so I need to tune into that to get that upgrade?
Yeah, or I mean, there obviously someone might not have a docket number yet. So I think I'll show you what I did, which is really just to use, I had people try to describe their existing case or their new case if they don't have a docket number, to give at least a little bit of a MVP, help the court look it up.
Oh, okay.
I was wondering if this is a custom one, what court is hearing your case? Is this a custom or basic questions we said? Sorry.
I haven't touched it. So I think it's basic questions.
Because let me see, let's click at the source and see. Oh, it is already in the source. Let's go down there.
Just, yeah.
Pretty sure I did change how this worked a little bit.
Near the top. Near the top.
Submitted. Might be on the live one now.
Scroll to the first thing that shows in this source, the first question. A bit higher. Keep going. Keep going. There we go. Basic questions.
Yep. I don't know why. That's interesting. Yeah. Okay.
Maybe it's not on the dev server.
Oh yeah, it might not be on the dev server. That's possible.
Okay. So
You
don't
don't have to change anything.
Don't worry.
change anything.
In other words,
I
don't
like
worry.
how it says temporarily always use this form. I'm not sure why that's there, but I'm happy about that. Okay, so it's at the end. This is happening before the preview. Do I want to move it to the preview? Or no, it goes on, or does it? It goes on the preview, so never mind. That's a silly question. Okay. How do I pick a court? Okay, just do that court. And then it goes into the name. And that's good because the previous time it asked the name, it won't do that anymore. And so, and then it asks for the address. And then, when do you plan to file these forms? Today, sure. And yeah, these I don't think we've touched. But making stuff appear on the PDF, I think is still something I need to work on. I don't know what we'll see here, but hopefully it'll be great. Why does it take so? Is it taking a long time to load this PDF, or?
Yeah, it takes a long time on my system as well. I'm not sure.
It's on AWS. I wonder why though. But it's not that big a file.
So some things that that's already in my to-do list, changing the output here to interval or to integer.
Yes.
0. Something you said I want to note. Should I always ask for decimals in case to account for small amounts, or is it just like round up to 1 if it?
I think you'd round it.
I don't think the court really wants to get the sense.
Yeah, I think Kate was saying to round it as well. Yeah.
Okay, so just whole numbers, because Quentin, you've told me to use the currency data type for input, and that allows decimals.
It does allow decimals.
So we have a function in ours that rounds it up, I think.
Right. And so
I can have a look for a code snippet.
but is that for the output onto the form? And
yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So that's fine.
That's in the attachment block itself.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. That's not what to do.
Okay. I'll drop a snippet in.
So just to go back quickly, I just want to say it's worth looking at Matt's financial fee waiver in Illinois, because they do a really good job of the assets and the expenses with the check boxes. So I think it's worth having a look at that when you get back to your designing your questions. And they also have bank accounts, home real estate, other real estate, not including the house you live in, vehicles like a car or truck. We might say boat. Other valuable belongings means expensive jewelry, high-end electronics, and other possessions that are worth a great deal of money.
Oh, great. Maybe you just put it on. Thanks for doing that. I was about to copy it onto the channel, but you already done that.
But Matt's talking about if you do the start program there, that's where you go to the A to J author. That's the interview. You have to go through a few questions, so you might not want to do it right now.
Okay. So,
but and then you click get started.
Yeah. Okay. I won't do it now. We only have 3.
But I think that's the kind of example I was looking for before, which is really helpful.
Yeah. The other link that I sent though has the forms that you were on the Illinois courts.
Yeah.
So the application for waiver of court fees, the one right below it is
thanks.
that's the actual form. Yeah, they need to redesign that site. The big button is just comments, not the form. But yes, you can see a little bit of how they break down all of these things. It's really
Their form looks a lot nicer than Massachusetts.
Wow, this is beautiful.
Some design.
It's even got contextual instructions.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's nice.
actually quite a nice form.
2-minute warning.
2-minute warning. Okay. Well, so yeah, this is great. Thanks for that resource. I'll definitely check it out.
sure. Let me know if you have any questions. I have to go to another meeting, but thanks so much for letting me drop by again.
Of
I like that
course.
form. Thanks for sharing.
Sure
Yeah,
thing.
thank you.
Yeah, it's
job.
awesome.
Take care, everyone.
You too.
Okay.
Bye.
Eric, I've dropped you that code snippet and for the attachment block and then the related question and how we structured that because in the most recent iteration we've included the step that Quentin suggested in our last demo. So you can have a look at that, those two together.
I see it. Yeah, in the code channel.
Yeah, so the first one is the one that's in the attachment, and then the second block is the question itself.
So what's the F?
That's the function.
There's the int function. Okay, F. It's the F apostrophe Mako tags. Then the
Yeah.
function. So what's the? That is.
Sorry?
What's the F with the Mako tags?
I thought that was a function.
What does it do?
Let's
What
see.
Yeah, what's it do? I don't understand the syntax.
Quentin?
I'm gonna. This is gonna have to end soon.
Oh, no.
Yeah, we can discuss it offline. All
I'll
right.
give you a function because we turned it into a function, but made
Yeah.
what you did as the original before we made a function for it.
So we can just put it in assembly line code, right?
Okay,
Like it does.
okay.
Oh, yeah, that's what we're doing. Okay.
Bye.
Yeah.
Bye.
Thanks for all the feedback, guys. Great.
Bye.
Bye.